Big game this week. It's great to be in conference play. We utilized our bye week working on fundamentals, and we spent quite a bit of time getting ready for Boise State. We are healthier than we have been at quite some time, which is good to know. We went through a pretty rough stretch there with some injuries. It's great to have Austin Ford out, Nico Evans, Javon Bigelow, so we'll be much more fortified there. We're in hopes to have Patrick Arnold. We'll know a little bit more during the course of the time. Tyler Hall, we're also hopeful for him. He seems to be coming along. I would say C.J. Colton would be doubtful right now. So unlike a lot of our either opponents or colleagues around the country, we try to do a good job disclosing where we're at with injuries. You know, we've had spirited practices. I thought Saturday's practice late in the afternoon was real spirited. Our players recognize what's on the line. We have a great deal of respect for Boise State and Coach Harsin and their program. I know they're listed in the top 25 by coaches, not media. So I think it just shows that the coaches are smarter than you media people. But they deserve to be there. You know, I've watched all their game footage on all three phases of the football against Oklahoma State, and I know quite a bit about Oklahoma State. I thought they matched up athletically really well with Oklahoma State, and the ledger just tilted one way because they had two punt blocks. It's hard enough to win a game when you have one punt blocked. When you have two, it's really hard. And so, but nonetheless, they had two punt blocks. But what I'm saying is you know, that can be corrected, and they've got really good players. I think we've got really good players too. We love the fact that we're going to be at home. You know, our program has gotten more competitive. Our players recognize the challenge that's there playing Boise State and the Broncos, but our players also recognize what a great opportunity. So we're looking forward to embracing this game. Hopefully we'll have a great turnout. I know it's on national TV. It's at 5 o'clock in Laramie, so we're in hopes to have a great home crowd because I do think our players feed off that energy. When you look at Boise State, I think you know they are an excellent program. You look at their quarterback; it seems like he's been there forever. You know, I've watched a great deal of tape on Rippon through the years, and he's got really good ability. Throws the ball, takes it where it needs to be taken. He's got good mobility, but I don't know if there's a sharper, more cerebral decision maker than him, and Coach Harsin. That staff's done a great job with them. You know, they know who they are offensively, but they have some really innovative schemes, which I applaud them for that because they know how to stress a defense. They do all kinds of different things with different personnel groupings and then plays that come off it, not only drop back pass, different runs, but then also play action pass as well. So that's a real challenge in itself. And when you have a quarterback operating like he does, Rippon is an excellent player. Defensively, I think you know, they're different than us. They're a multi-front team where they bounce in and out. But what has been amazing to me is they pressure a lot, but everything's all tied together. Sometimes when teams take on that mantra, they have an attitude of, you know, we're going to blitz this guy, and you'll just see some unsound plays occur. That's not been the case. Defensively, they're an excellent defense, and they play really stingy defense, and so we're going to have our hands full there. And as I said, they have really good players on special teams, and I'm sure Coach Harsin's going to clean up those blocks. And so, makings of a great football game. I know as a coach, I'm personally really excited about this game, really excited that we're at home, and I know our players are as well. So at this time, I'll open up any questions anybody may have out there. Yes, Robert.
Is it also anxious? You mentioned you're getting healthier than you've been in a while, just to like you say, have all your bullets in the gun or most of them back to get back. Because when you did at the start of the season, it looked pretty good.
Right.
Is it really anxious to see what you have with all your bullets in your guns?
Well, I'm anxious. You know, I thought we had a great opening game against New Mexico State, and certainly during the course of that gauntlet of some of the teams that we played, you know, the dynamics of our football team changed somewhat. And you know, our attitude going into the Wofford game was we have to do whatever we got to do just to win the game because, as I said, we were really depleted in a lot of those places, and a lot of these players are back. And not only back, but, you know, there's some of our players that were playing, and they were playing because they were just banged up. And I think those bumps and bruises are starting to heal. And then also, when you get into conference play and you're playing a team like Boise, you know, that's an added edge as well. So we're excited about having our players back, and then also just being a little bit more refreshed. Now, I also know that, you know, it was probably a timely buy for Boise as well. And so you've got two, I think, really good teams on the mountainside here that are going to get ready to play Saturday. Yes.
Do you see advantage or disadvantage as to where they show up on your schedule? And do you think, with the fact that you guys are the one team that's knocked them off the Mountain Championship in the last few years, that there's a little bit extra energy for them towards you?
You know, first of all, I believe that Coach Harsin really does a great job. They do what they do, and they prepare their football team. Maybe there was a time that because of our past performances that maybe some of their players might have thought that this is just Wyoming. I think that we've had a couple competitive games, so we're anticipating that they'll be ready to play. But I can tell you also on the flip side, our players are embracing this challenge as well. It's going to be you know, a really competitive atmosphere and really competitive game. Where the games fall at on the schedule, Coach, you know, Brian would probably say the same thing I would say. You know, the fact that we have a bye week and they have a bye week, that kind of neutralizes things. I always look at that as an added advantage. But where it's at, it's early in the year. We play them as they come.
Coach,
yeah, go ahead.
Keon, you know, probably having to step in again for CJ. I know Wofford didn't throw the ball a ton, but I guess what did you see from him as a starter last week?
You know, Keon has got really good ability. He runs well. He's got good ball skills. You know, we felt really good about almost sharing time with those two guys. And so he with Antonio Hall feel good about the combination there. And Keon's done a good job. He's a student of the game. As I said, he's got good athleticism. He runs well in the back.
Coach, coming off the bye week, you said it was spirited practices. How would you describe the mood after, I guess, how would you read your team coming in at 2-2 right
Well,
now?
I can tell you after the game that we were a beat-up football team. Now, there was a sense of confidence that we could overcome adversity and win sometimes not exactly how everything just goes along, and so that shows some character building. But they needed a couple days off, and we gave them some time off. And you know, as a week progressed, as we got deeper into the Boise State game plan, it really peaked. Saturday, I thought, late Saturday afternoon, all our coaches came back off the road, and we had it was a spirited practice. It was probably as much energy as what we've had since, you know, right before New Mexico State, which is encouraging. Yes, Robert.
You know, getting guys back to, what does it mean to get Austin Fort back at tight end? Not only to give you just another guy there, but, you know, I know he was a starter going into the season and counted on to do some big things with his size and athleticism. How big of a factor can that be to get him back?
I think first and foremost, he's one of our elected captains, and his voice carries a lot of respect in our locker room. He adds great maturity, and so it's going to be great to have him back in our offense. You know, we utilize tight ends a lot, as does Boise, and a lot of teams don't do that. And we had gotten pigeonholed quite a bit on really being handcuffed. And so the fact that you've got a guy that can stretch the field, he's got good ability, he can block and he can move, and has a good understanding of our offense, that in combination with Tyree, we're back to our normal self offensively. So having Austin's physical presence is great, and also now you've got one of our main leaders on our football team that's playing, and that helps.
You know, Boise was playing a lot of man against Oklahoma, and I watched that game. What is your plan of attack to that man coverage from Boise?
Boise's always done that, and then there's different combinations that they have, and it's just not like they're going to line up and play man all the time. I mean, they're going to mix a man and zone, and that poses challenges for us. You know, there's things that we have to do to be able to beat some guys one-on-one. We feel like we've got some players to do that, and then there's also some schemes that if you know that you've got high tendencies to be in man at certain times, you're going to call man beater routes, and it just comes down to the magical formula of matching those two up. Yes?
I know you guys played a couple Power 5 teams, but opening conference play against a team like Boise, what kind of measuring stick do you expect that to be? What do you hope to learn about your team?
You know, they're, like I said, they're rated in the top 25 in the coaches poll, and that's well deserved. And they've got really good athletes, and they have a great program. And so as a result, you're going to get measured against, you know, I think one of the better teams in the Mountain West, if not the best team, and going in. And so I think it gives us another opportunity to see how good we can be. I can tell you, you know, some of the teams that we played, I think have been good nationally. You know, I watched the USC Wazoo game, and that, quite frankly, did not surprise me. And so but these guys are as good as there is out there.
Craig, you know, you mentioned about, you know, you're excited for this game, but, you know, well, not that long ago when you got here, you know, Boise kind of ran roughshod over a lot of teams in this league, but after beating them once, and it was a good game last year, is there, you get a sense too, there's also a pretty strong belief within the program that, not that you'll go out and win, but
Right.
it's just a different belief, I guess, now than there was maybe 3 or 4 years ago when you guys were playing Boise.
Different belief even by me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can remember the first couple of years when we were out here, and I looked up in the stands, and, you know, there was a snowy night, and they were hanging about 60 points on us, and, you know, the next year wasn't a whole lot better. You know, that began to change in year 3. You know, winning mentality, a competitive mentality that let's not just look to go out and try to compete, let's go out and look to win. And so that attitude has certainly changed, and you know, you can't quantify that. That's an important factor, and that comes into a deep belief in these players, not only their level of commitment, but their deep belief in one another that they can win, and we can win.
Good. Looking back at that win 2 years ago here, you know, obviously the first time they come back since then, just how, you know, big of a win did that end up being in terms of the step the program took forward that year?
I'd mentioned to a lot of our fans as I traveled around the state, I'd encourage them to get season tickets, because I said there will be a game that you will remember and that will be a watershed or a turning point in the program. And I think that certainly was. Not that we've arrived by any means, but I think we're in a different place. And sometimes you need to do some things that are somewhat non-conventional to do that, whether it was Josh Allen running 50 yards, throwing the ball sideways in the back of the end zone to Tanner, or coming up with a safety, or things like that. You know, so there's a belief that we can win, and, you know, we had a special group of seniors, and I think, you know, Josh did a lot for us too. I don't know if anybody in this room saw some of the highlights that he played yesterday. You know, I jotted a note to their head coach. He probably wants to strangle him for hurling the guy, but he did the same things here. You know, we're in a different place, but I can tell you Boise's still kind of viewed, not kind of, they're viewed as one of the premier programs around the country.